Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Eat. I'm so happy that you're here today. And we are diving into another family dinner episode where I basically just spend the next 45 minutes chatting and yapping and talking about different things that have been going on, what I've been doing, what I've been learning, what's new in life, in business, what I'm looking forward to. And there's lots of different things going on. So I will be honest and say I actually recorded this whole episode, probably like 40 minutes worth of an episode last week, and I just deleted it. I just didn't like it. I was like, I don't like this. I'm deleting this. So you might say, Emily, what a waste of time. But I look at it as I'm trying to be the best podcaster that I can be. And if an episode does not live up to my standards, then I have to get rid of it. And and that's got to be that. So, we are trying again here. It is Friday morning. You know that this is my favorite time to record a podcast episode. I have my coffee with me. I have my water with me. I think I'm going to turn on my red light in just a minute. So, we have all of the necessary tools to make a successful episode. Necessary conditions, we'll call it. It's the morning, it's Friday morning. I have coffee, I have all my things, like I am ready to go. So let's get into it. Welcome back to the table and let's eat. Welcome to Let's Eat. I'm your host, Emily, certified holistic health coach, functional nutrition expert, and self proclaimed wellness enthusiast, here to meet you at the intersection of physical and mental health, the space within which we become well. This podcast is meant to explore all areas of mind and body wellness, designed to offer you the integrative knowledge, behavioral strategies, and mindset shifts necessary to uplevel your health and feel better today. We'll explore nutrition, sleep, movement, self-care and stress management, habits and routines, self-development, gut health, mental health, and more. I'm so happy that you're here. Welcome to the table. Let's eat. So I just listened back and I just got a new laptop. So it's all fancy and brand new, and the audio just sounds so crisp. I don't know if it's the speakers on my laptop or what it is, but I'm hopeful it's the same for you. I'm hopeful it's a better quality audio for you. I am suspicious about it though because I'm using the same mic. So it's possible it's just my speakers, but I did get a new laptop because my laptop, according to the Apple employee, was at risk of exploding. Yes, you heard that right. Was at risk of exploding. And while an explosion would not be ideal, what I was most concerned with was losing all of my work and all of my things on my laptop. My past laptop, my last laptop, I think I got in grad school. I have to look back. I really don't remember, but on that laptop I have grad school documents. So, I'm guessing that was from grad school. But the abuse that that laptop saw, it was to no surprise. I mean, how how much use I put into my laptop, like the mileage that my laptops get, I just felt getting a new one just made sense. I also wanted to get a bigger screen. So this is where this is where that led us to a brand new MacBook Pro. And she's beautiful. And now it sounds like the speakers. I think it's the speakers. So the audio might be exactly the same for you, but for me, it's a little bit crisper. So, anyways, we are making our way through August. We are not halfway through August. I'm not going to get ahead of myself here. Listen, we have several more weeks of summer, so we need to savor every one of them. But August is about to fly by, and it already is flying by just because of how crazy and how busy things are. There's just so many things happening, all so many good things, but just so many things. So many things. And what I think is so interesting is I think back when I first started my business and I had like no things. Like when I started my business and I quit my job, I had no things. And now I have many things. And all the things are just so great. Like I have client work, I have lab analysis, I have Pilates events. I just did the math. Today is Friday, August 7th. With all of the things I have going on, Pilates fitness wise, my next physical day off, as far as like exercise and fitness goes, is Tuesday, August 25th. And my most recent day off was this past Tuesday, which was August 4th. So this is just 3 straight weeks, and then even after that, it's another, like, week that I have of just straight fitness, and it's great. I am dealing with a shoulder situation. It's actually I think it's just, like, my upper back has been bothering me because my right shoulder has been bothering me, but it also sometimes kind of shows up in the left side, so I think it's just, like, my whole upper back. So, it's just gotta be on the forefront of my focus and priority list to just be sure that I am doing what I have to do to address that while also focusing on all of these wonderful things. And that is totally fine with me. I think that's something I should always be doing because of what is required of my body now when it comes to my work, right? This is work. So I have to be being sure that I am taking care of my body so that I am able to continue to do this because just all it takes is one thing and then that's it, and I don't want to be so negative, but I think it's like the truth. It's the reality of working in the fitness space. So that is definitely something I am prioritizing. So then come September, I'm very much looking forward to September. I decided I am going to spend a few weeks down the shore in September. So I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast, but I always loved the idea of working. I guess the idea came when my daddy spends usually a couple months in Florida during the winters now that he's retired. And the past several years, I've gone down. I've shared about this on the podcast. I go for a couple weeks. It's something that he's done now for probably 5 years, I would say, maybe 5 or 6 years. And, at the time, I was kind of split between bartending. One year, I was still a therapist. So it was kind of like, I don't know, I was always working. Obviously, I was always working, but like working in a position where I either couldn't take off so much. I remember as a therapist, I was there for probably like 10 days or maybe 2 weeks. And I kind of split my clients out over the course of those 2 weeks. So I remember stacking my clients up the week before I left. That was such a crazy week. Holy cow. I just like stacked them on my schedule. And then I kind of just interspersed them over the course of my time away, which obviously was very inconvenient. I'm having to kind of step away and have privacy to see my clients, and obviously that's how it goes with work, right? I'm not gonna if that's how it goes, that's how it goes. If you can't take the time off. And I probably could have taken the time off, but I didn't want to spend all of my time off on that first few weeks of the year. And then obviously as a bartender, I have to take off because I can't physically bartend. I can't, that just doesn't work that way. So now that I'm working mostly for myself, obviously I'm still teaching at the studio, but that's a little bit more flexible and I can get those classes covered and it's not like I'm, working full time. It's, an hour here, an hour there. I thought about it. I'm like, why don't I just go work somewhere else? And obviously with Tally, I would want Tally with me. I wouldn't just be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna jet out of here, get on a plane and go somewhere. I think about come next year when my dad's in Florida, I'll probably figure out some way to like, I don't know. I don't know if Tally would come with me. I feel like that's probably a stretch, but I would like to go down there, but I would also like to work while I was down there. Anyways, I decided why not find a shore house and work from the shore for a couple weeks. Now, anyone who knows me is like, "What? You're doing that?" And it's funny because people who know me are very surprised by this. People who don't really know me are like, "Oh, that's such a great idea. I love that idea." But the people who know me are just surprised by that because that's just, like, not something I would normally do, I guess, which is fair. I have never done that. I've never done this. But I would never take a 2-week vacation, let me just say that. I mean, unless I was, like, in Europe and, like, traveling in this, in this beautiful, wonderful, spectacular place where I couldn't physically work. I just am not the type of person that would take 2 weeks off of my work, and I don't plan on doing that. I was trying to think about how I might structure the 2 weeks as far as clients go, maybe, but then I think about it, I'm like, well, I don't need like a full week. Yes. Okay. Some of you might be saying, Emily, just take a week off. Just take a vacation. Well, I don't want to. Okay. So leave me alone. But I might structure it so that I have like a few days off, or like the way I put my clients in that week, I can like, maneuver it so that I only see them at the earlier half of the day, or I don't know. We'll see. But what I'm hoping it to be is just a lot of rest and, you know, not setting an alarm and just letting myself be and kind of chill and, just read and walk. There's plenty of fitness studios down there, so I'm excited to kind of explore like different studios and take some heated classes at other studios. I actually have already kind of been scouting that out, like, oh, where do I want to go? Where do I want to, what classes do I want to take? And kind of just having myself like a staycation, I guess, and soaking in. I mean, nothing is better than being by the ocean. And that time of year, it's hit or miss with weather. It will probably warm up during the day. So, that'll be nice. But in the mornings, in the evenings, it'll be cool. The ocean's usually pretty warm that time of year, too. By September, the ocean's pretty warm. So, it'll be nice. I'm looking forward to it. I think, it's kind of a mixture of, yeah, I'm going to maintain some structure, some routine, some schedule, because that's just the way that I am, and I feel like I would be bored if I didn't do that. And then also letting myself kind of just chill, and I'm excited to just kind of be in comfy clothes and read and just kind of like whatever, I, that that's really kind of the plan, is just to kind of do whatever and do what I want to do. Maybe get myself a massage. I was looking at like spas down there. I am thinking about doing either a yap and walk while I'm down there, or a fitness event, which, I think if I do a fitness event, that's going to suck a lot of the relaxation out of the trip. So I want to do it. I actually am in touch with a Pilates studio that just opened in Asbury Park down there. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Jersey Shore, Asbury Park is a town in the Jersey Shore. It's like the next town over from where I'll be, or a few towns over. And so I connected with this young girl. She's about my age, I guess, maybe late 20s, and she just opened a studio. So I'm in the works of planning something with her. I'm going to follow up and see if that's still plausible. So, not totally resting, but still resting. That's that's the that's the goal, and I'm gonna be there for 2 weeks. So, I will be back for teaching. There's gonna be one window of time that I'll be back home to teach. I think I'm gonna go through with teaching withdrawal, so I do wanna come back and teach and just regroup, come home, kinda get my head on straight, and that's tentative. I took off all of my classes, but that's one that those few classes I still have on my calendar. And it's possible that I might just say, "Screw it. I don't wanna, not coming home," right? And honestly, I shouldn't. I shouldn't come home. I should just stay down there, but in my head, I'm like, "I don't wanna take that much time off of teaching," but it's okay, Emily, you'll survive, and your body will probably be very happy that you're doing that. And speaking of trips, this is a new development, and I'm actually happy that I was able to record this after last this past week, because I actually recently booked another trip. And so look at me go, guys. I'm just this world traveler now, and who am I? So I've talked about this on the podcast. So most of you should know this, and I'll just recap if you're not someone who's actively listening, or if you don't remember. Since the start of this year, I was looking for a convention or a conference or a summit of some kind to attend. Intentionally one to attend in person, because there's plenty to do virtually, and intentionally one to attend out of New Jersey. Okay. I went to that longevity event in the city in, when was that? In May? Was it in May? Yeah, it was in May. And that was so fun. It was so out of my comfort zone. And you might be thinking, Emily, you just drove an hour into New York City. No, but I drove an hour into New York City, guys. Like, I am in the rural town of New Jersey that driving into the city is like, is a whole production. Okay. So, yes, the city is not far from me. And that's something I do want to keep in mind, that I can go into the city and go to these events. And the city is a great place to network. And That's, a major hub, obviously, for all of these types of health and wellness things. But I wanted to travel. And the reason I wanted to travel was for a number of different things. I really just wanted to step into my identity as kind of like a business owner, as a practitioner. And I feel like this year I've been really able to do that, especially since stepping away from the bar and being able to really kind of formulate the identity of, this is my full-time business, this is my work, this is my job. Ever since I've been, I was through grad school, and I was still a student, and then, going into the world of being a therapist and then still being a bartender, I feel like I was still kind of in this like in between of like I wasn't fully in my groove and in that identity as a practitioner and business owner. And I feel like that was part of my, and not to say that I don't need a conference or a convention or a summit to validate that or to like make that to be true. I know that's true, but I just really wanted to be able to step into that space. And obviously, I want to learn. I'm so eager to learn. I freaking love to learn. That's another thing I want to talk about. And so, this was something that I've just really drawn to, especially because I've seen so many people all over social media who have attended these types of conferences. And I've always felt so jealous. I've just been like, I love that. I want to go do that, especially because, usually at like these health and wellness summits, they have like, I don't know, they have like wellness amenities and just things are catered and it's just like a fun experience and you're surrounded by so many other people in the wellness space. And I just like the idea of traveling as the whole with Emily LLC, functional practitioner and going into these events in that identity because that's who I am and that's what I do. So I had been looking, looking, looking. There was one that I may have shared this already, so I apologize if I did. There was one that I wanted to go to in September in Austin, Texas. Now, it actually works out that I'm not going to that one because of my exciting beach vacation, because the tail end of my trip would have been that weekend. But so it all worked out, right? It all worked out. I had been refreshing this conference. It was like a longevity conference by a company that sells labs I've ordered from a handful of times. I don't use their labs as regularly as I do other companies, but still love the brand and the company and so forth. And I had seen this event, this conference last year by this girl that I follow on social media. And it was at this like resort and spa in Texas. And it was like this whole like longevity focused conference. And I was like, I want to go to that. That is so freaking cool. So I said, I'm going to go to that this year. So what I did was I had a tab open and on the event page where it said, applications coming soon and kind of explained the dates and the location and whatnot, you know, obviously speaker lineup coming soon, all the details were yet to be finalized. I refreshed that page every day. I refreshed the heck out of that page. And every day I would go on my computer, refresh it again. Like, okay, maybe today's the application day. Maybe today's the application day. Cause I was like, I'm determined. I'm going to be the first application submitted. Like, that will be me. So mind you, this is like weeks, okay, going by. And I'm like, They gotta do something about this soon. I mean, September's gonna come fast. Like, how soon do they let these applications out?" So sure enough, I refresh one day and I thought I was being punked, okay? I refresh the page and it says, "We're sorry to announce this event will be postponed until next year. We're sorry for whatever, hope to see you next year." And I was literally, when it's like I just was in this headspace every time I refreshed that it would just be the same, right? Like refresh, okay, applications coming soon. Refresh, applications coming soon. So then finally when it changed and you weren't expecting that at all, you're like, "What?" Like, am I reading this right? So, fast forward to the New York event that I went to, and the girl that I followed that went last year, she actually works for the company. And I met her there. I saw her, at the event. We met in real life for the first time, and I asked her about it. I was like, "Why are they not doing it?" And she's like, "Yeah, they, wanna put their funds to other resources, or they're allocating their resources elsewhere," or whatever. So, needless to say, I was disappointed, okay? But it wasn't meant to be, and that's all good. Maybe I'll go next year, maybe something else will come along, similar to that. But that at that point, I just kind of lost my groove. I was like, "Ugh, come on." I, like, lost all my excitement for it. So I kinda put it on the back burner. I was also looking at this other summit in Fort Lauderdale in November, and in years past, I had seen this, I had seen other, you know, people that I follow, they had gone to this, which is actually pretty cool because 'cause I'll probably end up seeing them this year. Surprise, I'm going to this particular one. I'll get into the story. But I had seen other people that I follow in the health and wellness space that had gone to this. And, Dr. Mark Hyman had been there. If you're not familiar with him, he's one of like the leading experts in the functional health space. Andrew Huberman was there one year. And I just thought it was so cool. I was like, what is this? Like, I want to go to this. So I had looked into it back in the spring, and I kick myself now because had I just registered for it then, I would have saved probably a lot of money just because tickets went up and whatnot. But I had my sights set on this other one, so obviously I wasn't going to do both. But this one is in Fort Lauderdale. It's called Eudaimonia Summit, and it's basically like a very like longevity focused, health focused, biohacking focused type of conference over the course of a weekend in Florida. So, I was on some level of ready the other day, and I just booked myself some tickets. And so I'm going to this in the beginning of November, and I'm looking forward to it. I think part of the enticement was going somewhere warm in November, which is gonna be a nice little getaway. And I'm gonna make myself a little bit of a trip out of it. The conference itself is, I think the it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I'm flying in Thursday, booked a hotel. The hotel has the amenities that I was hoping for. There's a fitness center. I think there's a spa in there, so having myself a little bit of a vacation alongside the conference. But that was a pretty unlike me step to take too, to just say, "Yeah, I'm just gonna fly to Florida," and I'm like, "But why not?" And I'm about to take away so much knowledge. It's gonna be so much fun to just immerse myself in all of it, to be able to learn and to listen to Gary Brecka is gonna be there. Actually, the author of a book I'm just currently reading about fertility is gonna be there. I just saw that Natalie Crawford is her name. Lots of different, you know, very, um, knowledgeable and, like, some of the most important leaders in kind of like the longevity biohacking space to speak on their respective topics. I just think it's the coolest thing. So, I am looking forward to that. I mean, that's also gonna come so fast, and obviously, it's it's what I was hoping for all year, to just try to find something that I could go to, so I'm looking forward to just kinda stepping out of my comfort zone and going and doing that, and being able to kind of soak it all in and immerse myself not only in you know, the energy of the experts, but also with other, functional health practitioners and clinicians and MDs and specialists and all that, and I think it's just gonna be a really, really fun weekend. So that is what's happening. I'm just making moves here this week. I mean, I guess I booked I booked the beach house a couple weeks ago. Well, I don't even know when that was, but I booked that a while ago. But I did book my trip this week. I booked my hotel, and I'm just gonna wait on flights, and my tickets are in my inbox. So we are ready to go, and that's what will be happening this fall. It's gonna be a very exciting and busy fall, and so looking forward to all of that. So, as mentioned, there's just a lot happening. And I think what I'm struggling with, just to be fully transparent now, right, with what's happening now, is I'm kind of like in this weird, like, I don't know, it's like it's hard to explain. I feel like I'm in a groove, like business is happening. I'm feeling good about my work and with Pilates. And I feel like I've just been in this like hustle mode, and that's, I mean, that's just a part of my personality, right? So like I have to be considerate of the fact that like that's just how I'm wired. But I've been in this hustle mode when it comes to business for years, right? Because I've just been constantly trying to build and to grow and to establish myself. But this past year, like I've had to remind myself like I don't need to be doing that, and that it's okay to just do my work and then shut my laptop and stop. And it's just really interesting to think about what my life was like before I had a business, because like truthfully, what was I doing? Like, what did I do? And that, I mean, that makes me proud, right? A little bit because I'm proud of what I've built, but it also kind of makes me sad because I'm like, I kind of had an ability, like I didn't have this kind of incessant need to be doing and growing and building. And that is something I am really not good at shutting off. I will say last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, I was at my mom's because my sister was there for the week. And, I kind of had to catch myself in those moments where I was just like, okay, I'm going to go on my laptop. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But I don't have a lot of time to see my nieces and spend time with them and my sister and whatnot. And so I had to like kind of check myself a little and be like, Emily, it's fine. Like, not like, stop, And I think that's something I really need to be more graceful with and be more attentive to is it's okay. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need to be constantly in like, for example, today, I have a few clients this afternoon, a few new client consults, I have my class to teach, and then I'm thinking, "Oh, okay, like, maybe I'll go sit by the pool." And I of course, I have these thoughts of like, "Well, no, I could do this, I could do that, I could, why don't you get to your to-do list?" And it's like, "No, but, like, I don't have to do that." Like, I can just shut my laptop and just go sit by the pool because I have time to do everything I need tomorrow or the next day or, you know, Monday on the actual work week, like when and that's what I have to just kind of get myself comfortable with is being okay with just letting it go and separating myself from my work, which I have a hard time doing, and knowing that like life is meant to be lived and there is things to do that can wait, and there's also things to do in life that don't include work, like going to sit by the pool for an hour on a Friday afternoon because you can, So that's kind of what I'm navigating right now. Full transparency is just trying to figure out like how to navigate this more gracefully and how to be able to detach myself because everything's going well and I'm very happy with where I'm at. And like I don't need to be in that grind hustle. I have established myself and I have established my business and I'm working very hard to serve my clients best, and that is never going to change. But I don't need to constantly feel like, okay, well, what's next? Okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? Because that's kind of what I've conditioned myself to do. And that's not good. You don't want to live in that space. And then it also prevents you from like being here. There's something that I see on social media a ton that's like, that says, remember, 5 years ago, this is what you prayed for, or 5 years ago, this is where you want it to be. Where you are now is where you want it to be. And there's literally nothing truer for me than to say 3 years ago, this is where I want it to be. I mean, even living where I live and have ev having, the business that I have and being at the studio, like all of these things, like this is what I worked for. And so I don't need to be so caught up in, okay, well, what's next? Because this right here is perfect and this is what I wanted and this is great. And it's not to say that I can't still be, striving for more because that's just how I'm wired and that's what I want. And I also want to be a better practitioner. So it's not even about like growing my business. It's more just about my like expanding my knowledge and being able to be more proficient in the things that I do. But it has to be something that I figure out a balance with. So that's kind of what I'm navigating currently with all the things I have going on, and especially going into the fall, trying to be more attuned to when when that tendency comes up for me, and learning how to kind of sit with it and navigate it and, address it more productively. That being said, I am in the process of incorporating a new lab into my work. It is actually just a more, I don't want to call it advanced, but I guess it is a more advanced hormone profile. This is actually one of the more standard labs that people are familiar with in the functional space, and they don't teach it in FDN, which is the program I went through, but they have a ton of resources post grad for you to turn to if you wanted to use this lab. I'm trying to kind of pivot when it comes to my business structure, not business structure, program structure. And that's kind of my plan to kind of debut maybe September 1st. And any client moving forward September 1st, they'll be enrolled or onboarded into like this new structure. Um, I'm doing this largely because of the information that I'll be able to gather from this lab. I'm trying to condense labs to make my program more affordable. And it just feels like the best next step for what I'm trying to do and the population I'm trying to work with. So, that said, I'm planning on offering a discount for enrollment in this new program in the next few weeks to get started come the fall. So, if you are interested in functional labs, and you want to hear more about the details of what I'm going to be offering, I will not only offer a discount for podcast listeners, but I'm also going to explain a little bit more about what it is that I'm going to be offering. So I'm looking forward to that. I actually just ran this lab on myself, only because I am in the midst of starting a program, starting a protocol alongside another FDN for the skin concerns that I'm having. I think I mentioned this. I've been dealing with some melasma for a couple years, and I had her on the podcast a few weeks ago, and she just blew my mind. If you listen to that episode, you can audibly hear me just be like, "Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god." Making all these realizations about the role of like root cause in melasma, which for years I thought it was always about like sun exposure. And that's what she basically talks about in the episode. Like, no, it's not about that. It's about hormonal shifts and metabolic health. And for me, I also have a genetic predisposition to oxidative stress, and oxidative stress is basically what causes that premature aging. So, needless to say, this is something that I was totally blown away by because I really didn't ever consider the connection between melasma and these underlying root causes. And I am going to be kind of collaborating with her because obviously I'm an FDN. So I don't need like as formal of a structured program, but I do want her to run the specific blood work. And we're doing some functional labs so that I can, and then have her expertise. She's been in this field working with this particular population for over a decade. So she has tons of knowledge as an FDN, period, but also in this niche. So I'm excited to kind of walk through all of that with her. And then, we're kind of doing this like loose structure of like, all right, you're kind of going to be in like a self-guided protocol because you're an FDN, you know what to do. But I'm just going to run the labs, do the interpretation for you, and tell you how all of this relates to what's going on in your skin. So that journey will be shared quite a bit on the podcast. This has been something that I've been dealing with, like I said, for a couple years, and it's been so, I mean, it's been hard, right, to deal with my skin changing and not really knowing what was going on and kind of feeling like, well, I don't understand this. Like, this shouldn't be happening, but feeling like there wasn't much I could do about it. And now I'm feeling really encouraged because she knows her stuff and I'm just really excited to work, with her. So, with all of that kind of coming together, I ran this lab this past week, which I probably would have done anyways, because obviously I want to run these labs on myself before I'm working with clients with them. And so it just kind of works out that I was able to run the lab, and now I have data that I'm actually going to be able to use in that journey. But it's also now useful for me to know the experience of running the lab for when I use it with clients. So that is on the radar. More details to come on that. I'll explain a little bit more about what that's going to look like. And I'm excited to kind of, I don't know, just consolidate a little bit and change it up, and also, make these labs more affordable. I think for the population that I'm working with or that I'm aiming to work with, this makes sense. And it'll just be, a little bit of an adjustment just because I'm so used to doing things the way that I've been doing it. But I'm excited to start kind of narrowing in on what is most valuable for the work that I want to do, whether that be with functional labs, blood work, whatever the case is. And that will be kicking off come the end of this month. So, as always, if you have questions or you'd like to schedule a consult, the link for that is always show notes, in the show notes. So, that is where you can find that. And like I said, more details to come as it relates to what's next. So, that is the latest and greatest with work. Like I said before, I feel like I am in the place that I dreamt of being. And I don't even wanna say that. I don't even know if I knew that this place existed. Obviously, when I started my business, I was in a much different place, as far as the work I was doing, and I wasn't teaching, but I just feel like this could be it, and this would be great. And I'd be totally happy here. So that's what I want to take a second more often than I do to recognize and give myself credit for the journey and where I came from and how grateful to be where I am. And I mean, my whole heart and soul is in this work. And I just feel so lucky to be able to call this my work and be able to do this. And I hope it never goes away because I just love it. I just truly love it so much. So that's that's the latest there. Like I said, though, September, October, November, December, I think moving into the latter end of this year, there are still things that I want to work on as far as structure of my work goes and systemizing things. And I was talking to someone about this the other day, like really just taking a closer look at the client experience from start to finish and making those investments to improve that, because ultimately what's more important than the client experience? Obviously, I want it to be the best experience. So that is kind of what I'm going to focus on, at least in the next couple weeks, and then maybe while I'm down the shore, that'll be some of the kind of back end admin work that I focus on. But that's kind of where my head's at for the rest of this month into the fall, and then finishing out 2026 so that I can move into 2027 and it can be even better. Got to be a couple steps ahead, right? Got to be a couple steps ahead. Now, what am I loving lately? Oh, wow. I have lots of things that I'm loving. I've actually been kind of like self medicating, if you will, my back and my shoulder that I've been having trouble with. And I think I mentioned this at the beginning of the episode, but I don't even remember. I hurt my shoulder about almost 2 years ago, and it comes and goes as far as like discomfort, but the past week it was really aggravated. The last couple days it's been okay, and I'm wondering if it's maybe due to the the therapy that I've put it through. But I've been using my red light on it, which has been great. I have been using magnesium oil to just kind of relax the surrounding muscles because I feel like I'm tense in other areas and it's aggravating it. I've been using my heating pad. So that has been something that I've really been loving. Let's just say I've been really, really loving it. And it's actually become like my little routine to kind of rehabilitate me, if you will, because there's no time for injury. All right. I've got classes to teach and planks to hold and push-ups to do. All right. So we've got to get it get it together. No, but I think, like I said, I am working hard physically in all of the, areas I just listed. And I am in need to recover as well. So I paused my Peloton membership. That's the fitness app that I use to exercise. I have a Peloton bike, but I do a lot of their strength training and whatnot. So I paused that because I just don't need it right now. And if there are workouts that I would like to do, I will just do them on my own, which I'm just not going to. Honestly, I'm really just not going to. I'll walk and I'll walk a ton, but other than that, I need to just kind of lay low. Especially with these classes, these events that I'm doing. I am doing lots of kind of collaborative events at the end of this month. I'm actually going to be teaching a Pilates class at Beneducci Vineyards. For those of you who are local, you're likely familiar. And if you're not local, Beneducci's is actually, I mean, this vineyard, beautiful vineyard. It's in the town that I basically grew up in. And it it is kind of one of those things that's just like a local, like, I don't know, just like it's a well-known spot in New Jersey. It's a popular, people travel to come to this vineyard. But I've spent many nights there, let's just say. I've spent many a day, many a night. And what's interesting about this vineyard is you kind of just go in and all bets are off. You think, this is from my earlier days, of course, in my early 20s, where you think you can just drink a bottle of wine and it's fine. And If I went to a restaurant or I was at home, if I drink a bottle of wine, that would be insane. But no, a Beneducci's, a bottle of wine, it's like a black hole there. I swear to God. It's like, so it's just funny now in retrospect, after spending many days and many evenings there for all sorts of different things. I mean, in the summer, in the winter, all sorts of events. It's a great spot. I am now going to be teaching a Pilates class, which is just, I don't know, just crazy. So if you're local, I'd love to have you. It's Friday, August 28th. And then two summer sculpt events at the same location, the Hummingbird House in Stockton. That's the weekend before. And then in Flemington, New Jersey, I'll be teaching a class at Prestige Dance Academy. So we're just doing all the things. And then I'm just adding that on to the classes that I'm already teaching. So listen, I really need to focus on resting and stretching, stretching for sure. So that is that is in the next couple weeks alongside my usual schedule. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a lot. And then come September, that'll be a nice reprieve when I go away. And so what have I been loving? I know I just kind of I got sidetracked there. What have I been loving? Well, I have been doing this morning mocktail, morning cocktail. Sounds fun when you say it's a morning cocktail with a couple different supplements that I've just recently, I guess not recently, maybe over the past couple months, I've brought into rotation. So this mocktail cocktail includes a supplement that has inositol in it. Inositol is really important for blood sugar, hormone balance. It has it's kind of like a multifaceted support. And it also has methylfolate, which is really important for homocysteine clearance in the body, which is something that I have been more prone to per what I've seen in my labs and then also through genetic testing. And some antioxidant support, which has been something I've been really focused on, especially as I start to embark on this new skin journey. And then I put L-glutamine in it for the sake of my gut lining, and I've been putting some minerals in it. So I just love, I'm a big powdered supplement person. If you've worked with me or you currently work with me, that's typically the direction I go in as frequently as I can. I would prefer if they were unflavored. Most brands aren't making unflavored unflavored supplements or unflavored powders because they obviously want to make it palatable. But if it were up to me, they'd all be unflavored and you could just add them all into one drink so long as there's no, you know, contraindications, and you could just throw it back. And there you go. Morning mocktail, one and done. So that is what I've been having in the mornings. And then I've also been having that alongside molecular hydrogen, which is something that I've kind of incorporated. It's basically just like a powerhouse punch of antioxidant support. So that is what I've been doing in the morning. I've been much more diligent about eating. I've been doing eating, no, not like eating in general, but being more intentional about eating and eating well first thing. I tend to struggle with that where I'm just not eating enough first thing, or I guess not necessarily first thing, but more so before my coffee. All right. I struggle with this. I've been very transparent about how I struggle with it because I love my coffee. I wake up thinking about my coffee. It's so funny. I've had this conversation lately where a couple of my clients, which I applaud them for this, they will either clients of mine at the studio or just in general, they will work out and then come home and have their coffee, which I can't understand that. Not because there's anything wrong with it. It's actually a better approach. Like waiting, delaying your coffee is actually better. But it's not that I need the coffee. I just freaking love my coffee. Like I literally love my coffee so much. I love my coffee. So, and embarking on this new melasma protocol, it's possible I have to switch it out because of the impact that the coffee has on my skin. So, that is something that I am dreading hearing, but it is possible that I will have to do that, which is fine. I'll pivot into just doing matcha, but I'm holding on to my final days. I got blood work done. So now I'm just waiting on those results and I sent in my hormone test. So all of it's coming together. I'm also using pre-existing labs in this protocol. So I'm very excited to share that journey. I'm probably going to talk a ton about it on the podcast and I'm excited to explore that. So I have been doing these overnight oats and it's actually been really helpful. I've been doing protein powder with cashew milk and oats. And when I make overnight oats, I jam pack these overnight oats. I love overnight oats when I can load up. Same with like smoothies or pasta sauces or soups, anything that I can just throw so much in to amplify the nutritional value of it. I am so in for that. So in overnight oats, I do chia, I do flax, I do hemp seeds, I do almonds, pumpkin seeds, cacao nibs. I mean, I load it up, because why not? It is a vehicle for greater nutrition. And so any opportunity I have to load up a vehicle that then can bring my body nutrition, why would I not take it? So I've been batching that at the beginning of the week, and it's been so helpful, especially before teaching, to just pull out and have scoops of it. So I've really been loving that. That's been really helpful to kind of get the day started and to have something with sustenance before I go into my workday, and really prioritizing blood sugar support and even just flooding my system with nutrients just based on all the things that I just listed. It's been great. I've been loving it. So, some other things that I've been loving, I've actually been very proactive in my interior decorating journey, which if you've been listening to the podcast, you know I have been struggling with this for some time, and every weekend it's so funny. Every weekend after I teach, I come home and I'm like, "All right, where can I go? Where can I shop?" And like in the area that I'm in, maybe many of you listeners might be familiar, but in the area that I'm in, we have Marshalls, we have Hobby Lobby, we have Target, and those are great spots to shop, but it is it only goes so far, especially when you're trying to go there every week. It's not going to change very much in terms of like the options. There's also Raymore and Flanagan and Ashley Home Furniture, which I don't venture into those because that is just far too overwhelming for me. And I feel like that's like a big commitment. Whereas if I go to Target and buy a lamp, it feels like, okay, I can do this. So I ended up, I'm so proud of myself. Saturday, I was doing all this cleaning, which has been like I have just loved Saturday after teaching, coming home, showering, chilling out a little bit, and then just going in on my home and organizing and just like not doing anything at all, which I mean, I probably should be a little bit more social, but I mean, the next few weekends are about to be kind of crazy. Not this upcoming weekend, but towards the end of August when I have all of the events going on, I have a lot going on. So I'm seizing the opportunity to rest a bit, but I moved my full length mirror. Maybe you don't care about this, but I'm going to tell you. I moved my full length mirror from where it was when I first moved in. Okay, so this is one of the first things I bought. I always wanted one of those like really tall arched floor length full length mirrors, and I put it in this one spot in my room, and there it lived. I never moved it. There it lived. There it stayed. And finally I was like, and I was for those of you who have been listening, and for those of you who have been following along, or if you're new, I have I have been I have been struggling in decoration just because it's not, and furnishing and whatnot. It's just because it's not my strong suit, and I feel like I've gotten into a groove with what I have, that it just hasn't been something that I've prioritized, because you kind of just learn to exist, and then that's like, you don't need to get anything else. If you have the things that you need to exist, then that's that. I also had someone tell me when I moved in here, don't buy anything like really expensive, or, you know, like do the bare minimum, because it's really when you move into a house that you'll like want to invest in nice things and put the money into the furniture. But at this moment in time, I don't foresee myself leaving here for some time. So I'm fine with making investments and, and purchasing things that I like, that are quality. So I've been kind of all over the place with this, and it's kind of, I go through ebbs and flows where I'm really inspired, but it's just really hard for me to commit to something and to know what I like and to know what looks right. I also mentioned I have really high ceilings, so I have a lot of wall space that intimidates me, like to put things on there, and I can't hang things as best as, I'd have to hire someone to come. Anyways, I moved this mirror, my whole life changed. All right. I moved the mirror and everything's different now. Okay. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. This looks so much different. So I moved the mirror, And maybe I'll have to give you a tour on the podcast when I finish it. And I'm gonna make myself a little reading nook in the empty space now. And I'm so glad I moved it because it just looks so much better. It's kind of like I like feng shuied the room or something, and now it's like a whole new room. So I'm waiting on a lamp that's coming today, and I'm on a search for like a really comfy chair. I was looking online. I want a really deep chair and a really wide chair, like a single chair. I don't want a I don't want a love seat, but I want like a reading chair, right? That allows me to curl up in. I can get comfy. I can sit all the way back in. And then I'm going to get something to hang on the wall and a little side table of some kind. So that is going to be on my agenda over the next few weeks so that by time it is cool and cozy out, I am ready to rock. And then maybe I will finish all the books that I say I'm going to finish. I feel like I'm starting to develop inside jokes with my podcast listeners. So if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. But that that segues me to my next point, my reading and what I've been loving in my reading. So we'll put that on the back burner for now. I am excited for my reading nook. That is going to be like the first order of business so that my brain isn't going all over the place. I did also buy, and I'm actually very, very excited for this. I hope it works out. I was looking for artwork to put above my bed, and I am like really big on artwork that has significance. I just feel like I don't want to just buy something because I like it. That's not true. It's not that I don't want to buy it because if I like it, and that's great. But I want there to be meaning to it. And everything I have on my wall so far, like I like it or it has meaning or like I feel like hung a picture in my bathroom in my one hallway with it's like my childhood home. It was a picture of my mom, a drawing or a painting or whatever it is that my mom had for all of my siblings and I in the house that I grew up in. And then there's another picture of a golden retriever. This is what I've had for probably over a year. And the golden is laying the way that Lou, my golden who passed away last year, how she used to lay. She used to sleep on her back and her arms would be open. And it's like an outlined drawing of that. And I saw it on Etsy and I was like, I need that. Like I need that. So that's on the wall. So, just like finding things that are meaningful. And I couldn't figure out what I wanted to put above my bed. And, I've been looking at ideas on Pinterest and, some ideas are like three pictures in a row or just like one long, like landscape picture. I have a lot of space. So I found these pictures of these hydrangeas and I really like blue hydrangeas. And that's actually what reminds me of my grandma. But anyways, I got these white because my color scheme in my room is really kind of like black and cream for the most part, like black and nude. I am trying to like keep it that way, although I mean a pop of color probably would worth we would be worth it. But listen, guys, that's far too out of my skill set here to my expertise here to know what color can I bring in to make like to bring in a color. So we'll revisit that. We'll venture that way in some time. I'm not bold enough to do that just yet. But hydrangeas remind me of my grandma. And because she had hydrangeas outside her house, she lived in Westfield, for those of you who are from New Jersey. And along her driveway, she had hydrangeas. And I just have such vivid memories of her backing out of her driveway or me being in my mom's car and backing out of the driveway and just seeing the hydrangeas as we backed out. And she also had, I'm almost positive, this is so random and so specific, but I have to tell you, she had this, I'm almost positive it was a hydrangea. I don't know why my memory is convincing me that this is what this was, but I could be wrong. But this is my memory. I think this is my my memory serves me. She had a fake hydrangea plant on her toilet and it would always fall into the toilet when I would flush the toilet. I don't know why. And I'd always be so upset because I'd be so scared that it fell in the toilet, but it would happen like multiple times and I remember her bathroom was like a foot square foot around, like it was so small and I don't know, like these specific memories that you have. But anyways, hydrangeas, they remind me of her. So, I thought what better way to decorate my room than to have hydrangeas on my wall. So I'm waiting on three hydrangea portraits. Now they're all three the same. So I don't know if that's going to look weird. I'm waiting to see what it looks like. I'm going to frame them and hang them and we'll see how it goes. But this is big moves for me, okay? I hung another picture on the wall and it says what's for dinner. I just love that. I think that's so fun. What's for dinner, especially because of, I don't know if I guess it ties into what I do, but just something fun. What's for dinner? And yeah, so I'm making my way and it feels good. And every time I take a step in that direction, I feel like it feels good, especially when I like what I've done. Like I told you guys about the bookshelf I put together, and I don't like the bookshelf, but the bookshelf is huge, and there's no way I can get rid of that bookshelf now. So it is what it is. Speaking of books and speaking of bookshelves, we are nearing the end of this episode, so I need to wrap this up. I've been reading a book about iron, and I've actually been reading it alongside Bailey. She's a friend of mine who she and I met back in October of 2022, which is crazy. It's 4 years ago. She and I were both in the same kind of mastermind business group, which ended up being a total waste of money. But she and I maintain friendship. And since then, it's been really cool because the two of us have kind of gone through the same phases of business together and we've kind of grown together. And so we just started meeting on a weekly basis to kind of go over our work together, just as colleagues and to kind of touch base. She offers different labs than I do, and she's trying to learn a lab that I offer. So I've been helping, kind of been like, mentoring her on that. And it's just been like a really cool thing for us to do together because we came from kind of the ground and we've worked up and we've kind of been in each other's worlds as we've done that. She also lives in, I always get this mixed up, Nebraska. Yeah, in Nebraska. I always want to say Kansas, but it's not. She lives in Nebraska. So she's not near me, right? And so it's been a lot of fun. But anyways, we're reading this book called Fix Iron First, and it's just been so fascinating to read about iron and to understand iron more, especially because iron deficiency and anemia and all that, low ferritin, these are issues I see time and again in labs. And so it's been really helpful to kind of just expand my understanding and really dive deeper into it. I'm also wrapping up on a few books and I plan to finish them before the month's end so I can officially put them on my bookshelf and just not have them floating around my house. So one is a book about the thyroid. It's right next to me. I am probably about 75% done with this. I have a book called Deep Work that I've been chipping at for over a year, so I need to finish that. I'm nearing the end of that. The fertility formula, that is something that I'm wrapping up with, and a few others that I have. You guys know how I operate here. So I am really excited because I'm anticipating a new book coming next month. I did pre-order that. So I told myself this is the month, and I've said this to you many times before, but this is the month I need to seriously get it together in terms of books. And it just feels good to finish a book and then put it on my bookshelf and let it stay there. Otherwise, these books are all over the place. I just have them all over, and it's just not a good system. But am I going to change my system? No, definitely not. I'm going to still do this, and you're going to hear me talk about it on the podcast. So that's the price that you must pay is really what I'm trying to say here. So overall, I just want to say I'm just feeling so inspired and so motivated and so thankful. I don't know. I feel like I may have said this at the beginning of the episode. I just feel like I'm in a good groove with everything. I mean, I'll be honest, I am overcome with imposter syndrome left and right. I battle kind of like these thoughts in my head about, okay, like, can I do this? Am I doing well? Do I need to be doing more? Which you can imagine as someone who's an overachiever, like that absolutely is something that I navigate. But I'm also, like I said earlier, trying to really be at peace and be comfortable with being here, just being here, just being where I am and really, paying attention to the work I have in front of me, not getting too far ahead and, kind of just being okay with being here. And that just feels like giving myself permission to do that, if that makes sense. Um, and that's, I think, important for all of us, to just be here, be where your feet are. That's like the problem with the world we live in is like we're so focused on what's happened or we're worried about what's next. And then we look back and we're like, like being present is a skill, especially in the world we live in today. And what is more important than being here, being right where you are, because this is life and like life is happening. And that's also super important, you know? So that's kind of my focus, especially in the next few weeks. There's a lot going on. Like I said, I have the Pilates events going on. And so I'm super excited for that. But then moving into September, being down the shore, allowing myself to be there, right? Going into November, allowing myself to be there at the summit in Florida and, take all of that in. And then just like really finishing off the year strong and focusing on my health too. I'm really excited to start this new journey and just see, it's obviously focusing on my skin, of course, that's like the focus, but that there's going to be other like impacts that take place that maybe I didn't even realize I needed to focus on, just based on what my labs say and based on the new things that I'm going to be incorporating and what I'm going to be focused on. Stress is a huge piece to this whole puzzle, and I know that there's going to be a lot of emphasis on that because that's a sore point for me, so I'm already ready for that. It's funny because it's like I'm going into this with really already kind of knowing the areas that I need to target. It's just until someone really kind of holds me accountable to them, like the stress piece, am I really gonna, be able to say, all right, like, time's up. you gotta buckle down. And I think me practicing the skill of being here and being present is going to help with the stress piece, because that's really what it is, being present and being here and now is one of the best tools that we can implement for stress. So anyways, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I thank you for joining me here for an hour-long family dinner, and I welcome you back anytime. I'd love to have you here anytime. And until next time, be well.